Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Keppel. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here today to share 5 different ways to use a panel die. Now, you may have seen in a lot of my other videos that I share 5 different ways to use a product or 5 different techniques. I'll share here 5 different ways to use vellum, 5 different ways to use cardstock strips, and 5 different ways to use colored cardstock. So you can check those videos out if you want. But the reason that I do that is because when I am shopping, I want a lot of bang for my buck. If I see a product and I know I can only use it one way, I'm not going to buy it. But if I can come up with 5 different ways at least to use a product, then I know I'm going to get a lot of use out of it and that it won't just sit collecting dust in my stamps and dies back there. So I am going to share today 5 different ways to use a panel die. I am using Waffle Flower's brand new Stars panel die, and you can check out in the description below lots of information about a blog hop going on and a giveaway. But for now, let's get started in this video. 5 different ways to use the Stars panel die. The first and probably easiest way to use a panel die is to die cut it out of white cardstock and use it over pattern paper or colorful strips of cardstock. I am going to be using the Waffle Flower JJ Bolton JJ's Rainbows pattern paper. They have lots of different options to use behind the pattern dies that JJ designed. I'm going to cut this pattern paper down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. That gives you 2 A2 pieces because the pattern paper is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. And then I'm going to figure out how I want to have these horizontal stripes. Now, I could use it behind the Stars panel die to make 2-toned stars. I am going to shift it so that each row of stars is over a different stripe of pattern paper, and then I'm just going to trim off the excess. So I'm just using a little bit of tape runner around the edges there. Don't need to go crazy because I'm not going to be doing anything too crazy with this card. So I just trim it down. You can see that I have a little bit of pink sticking out the bottom there. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz Tonic Studios paper trimmer just to trim that right off. And that is it. Look at how cute that looks with the rainbow of stars. Now for the sentiment. I am going to be using the Congrats sentiment from the graduation combo. And I really love that script sentiment. And then I am going to use the classic frames die to die cut out that sentiment, and then I'm going to pop it up on some dimensional adhesive and put it right on the top there. Next, I'm going to put a little bit of tape runner on a top folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of cardstock, and that is it. Super, super simple, but I love the way that looks. I love that the rainbow is really achieved so simply. Okay, I am going to use another piece of that pattern paper. This time I am going to use the vertical stripes. So once again, I'm going to cut this pattern paper in half. That's going to give me 2 A2 card fronts or 2 A2 pattern paper pieces. I am going to decide whether or not I want 2-tone stars again, or if I'm going to shift it over and cut off the excess there. I just couldn't decide. I love the way that they both look, but I decided to go with one color for each line, and so I'm going to shift it over once again. Same technique that we did with the horizontal stripes, we're going to do with the vertical stripes, but this time I am going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive behind this because I am going to double up on my panel dies. So that's something that's really simple to do, is just adhere 2 on top of each other, and it gives it a different look because the stars are kind of more like little wells, and it just gives it a little bit of extra dimension. And I love the colors back there with the pattern paper. Just so many fun rainbow options with that pattern paper pad by Waffle Flower. Once again, I'm just going to trim off that little bit of excess with my guillotine trimmer there. I had a little bit that I just was hanging out the bottom as well, so I'm going to trim that off too. Similarly to this, I have the vertical stars instead of the horizontal rainbow stars. This time I'm going to add the up and running enamel dots to the center. Since we doubled up on the panel dies, kind of creates a little window, a little star window in there that is the perfect place to put some of the small enamel dots. And you can see that the rainbow from the pattern paper almost perfectly matches the enamel dots. That's because those are the waffle flower rainbow colors. So up and running is the ink colors and the enamel dots colors, and also some of the pattern paper colors as well. So the only one that's a little bit different is the blue is a little bit darker, but I kind of like the way that looks anyway. And I did find another pack. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to do all of them or every other one, but I did find another pack and I was able to do every single one. And I love the way that looks as well. I'm going to use another sentiment from the graduation combo. This one says, "Oh, the places you'll go," which is another one of my favorites. And then I'm going to use those frames as well to die cut this out. I really like the way that looks. It's nice classic touch with the stitched border around it, and then just pop it up on a little foam adhesive to give it some dimension on top of all of those stars with the enamel dots. Just another way to create a rainbow that's super, super simple. I'm going to add a little bit of tape runner to that top folding note card there and lay this down, and that's the second way to use the panel dies with some enamel dots. The third way is to use it as a stencil. Now, one of the other Waffle Flower design team members, Galena, did this once, and I love the way it looked. She used it for ink blending and then for some glitter mixed media. And so I'm going to do something very, very similar here. I temporarily adhered the white stars panel down to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of cardstock with some pixie spray from Thermoweb, and now I'm ink blending over the top in a rainbow of colors with Distress Oxide inks. And that makes a panel that's rainbow and then an interior piece that is also rainbow. So I am going to grab another stars panel die. This time it's white, and I'm going to temporarily adhere it once again, and this time I'm going to use some glitz gel from Gina K for Thermoweb, and I'm going to put it on a stencil pal there, and I'm going to swipe it over the top of those stars. The stencil pal is really helpful to get a nice even coverage over your panel die. And look at that. We're going to let that dry, but I just love the way that looks. It looks really sugary. So now I'm going to use some foam tape. I trimmed this panel down quite a bit. So instead of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, it's more like 5 by 4 1/4, maybe a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use some foam tape, and I'm going to pop that up on a top folding white note card. And I love the way those little stars look. I'm going to use yet another sentiment from the graduation combo. There are a ton of really good sentiments in there, and combining them with the stars panel die I think is a great congratulatory card for somebody, whether it's for graduation or for something else. So this one says like Yahoo and congrats and oh yeah and high five. And so I am heat embossing this with some silver pearl embossing powder. I'm going to die cut it out with one of those label dies again, pop it up. That's my favorite thing to do, as you can tell by now, on some foam adhesive, and then just put that right on top of those sugar-coated colorful rainbow stars. So now we're going to take the panel that we ink blended, and we're going to use that one for a card too, because we should have no waste, right? I've also die cut the stars panel die out of 2 pieces of white foam, and I have my top folding note card that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I am going to adhere the foam down to my note card, and I'm going to use some liquid adhesive for this, and I'm going to make sure I get all around those stars because we're going to make a shaker card. So that's why I have 2 pieces of foam. I want a little bit of a dimension there so the wells are deep enough to put some shaker goodies inside. Even though the stars are small, you can fill them with some tiny little shaker goodies. So I put those on top of each other, making sure to line them up really nicely. I'm going to place the stars panel die on top just as a guide. I am not gluing it down yet because we haven't created our window, but I want to know where to put each color of shaker goodies. So I am going to do a rainbow of shaker goodies, starting with blue at that upper left corner there and moving down through green and yellow. I'm kind of using my hand to cover up the bottom stars so that I don't get any colors in there that don't belong in there. So now I'm working on the orange, and then finally, last but not least, I will put some pink in that bottom right corner. And I don't mind if some get into the wrong ones, but look at how cute that looks when you get them kind of in the right spots of the ink blended panel. Now I need to put a little bit of liquid adhesive all around these shaker wells. Otherwise, the goodies will fall out. So I really want to make sure that I'm putting a little bit of liquid adhesive all around every single star. It's a little time consuming, but it's totally worth it. Comes out super, super cute, and it keeps them all inside. I'm going to put my piece of acetate right on top of that. It is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece of acetate. And now I'm just going to put some liquid glue behind the panel, just making sure not to cover up any of the openings of the stars. And look at how cute that is, a little rainbow shaker with rainbow shaker goodies. I used another sentiment from the graduation combo that says, "We are so proud of you," and that completes that card as well. The last card that we're going to make is turning a panel die into a window card. This time I'm using the Waffle Flower half-half lines Enchanted. I've die cut the Stars panel die out of the darker blue, and I'm layering it over the lighter blue lines. I love these colors. I think they're so, so pretty. Once I have everything lined up, I am going to put a frames die right on top where I want my window. I'm going to put a little piece of purple tape to hold the die in place, but I'm also going to put a little piece of purple tape on the stars down there to hold the two papers together. Now I'm going to sandwich a piece of acetate in between those two window cut pieces of pattern paper. This way we have a window. So I'm going to put a little bit of liquid adhesive on the bottom piece of pattern paper, and then put the acetate on top, and then put a little bit of liquid adhesive on the top pattern paper, making sure not to cover up any of those areas where the stars are. I just want to get in between there so it all stays adhered down. And then I'm going to line that up so that we've created our window. Now, I want this to go all the way through my card. So I am going to cut a window out of the front of my top folding note card, and I lined it up by just holding the panel over there to see where it would belong. Once I've die cut that, I am going to stamp the greeting on the inside of the card. So I've folded my card down and I'm stamping on the inside using my MISTI. And then I'm going to place my window right on top of that top folding note card that we've cut out the window for. So you can see that I have a couple of white foam stars. Those were excess from the shaker panels that we created. So I'm going to use those as embellishments and adhere them with a little bit of liquid adhesive in the corners of our little window there. And that's it. 5th way to use a panel die. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found some inspiration on using panel dies, whether they are panel dies from your stash or whether you're interested in checking out the brand new Waffle Flower Stars panel die. All of the products that I used today will be linked down in the YouTube description below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the bell so that you can be notified when any of my videos are available. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Bye!